Good evening. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo. Net control for this evening's Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Tech Net. Looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check into tonight's Tech Net? Call now.
This is K1DEG, Mike in Glaville.
Good evening, Mike. How are you doing this evening?
I'm just sitting here in my chair trying to find something to look at on the TV.
Yeah, it's always a fun time. Hopefully the weather turns around and gets warmer again so we can spend some time outside, at least. If we're going to be stuck at home doing nothing, I'd like to be outside personally.
Yeah, we got my bent masonry antenna down and found out why the SWRs was high on it and had water on the inside of it. So I got it apart, sitting in the front room trying to dry it out, and I'm going to see if I can't get it back together and back up in the air. So yeah, as soon as it gets warm, it'd be wonderful to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I just been working on a antenna projects. Just got a 30-foot mast put up the day before it started snowing, and haven't been able to do anything else with it because of the weather. Good. Thank you for checking in. Anyone else want to check in? Call now.
This is November 0, November Yankee, Bart in Evans. Good evening.
Hey, good evening, Bart. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. I love the snow. I was a little surprised at how much we got. I think we're right in the fat part of the bands. They said it was going to be another one of those banded snows, thick here, thin there. And we certainly got the thick part. But the ground is so warm. Didn't even have to shovel the sidewalks. They took care of themselves nicely. And I think they said there was a little bit more coming this evening. We'll see. But I love it. I'm just pleased as can be.
Oh yeah, it definitely was bands of snow. I like the snow too. I'm just ready for warmer weather. After a week of warm weather and being able to get stuff done outside, I want to be able to finish it. I know my house, there's probably 11 to 12 inches of total snowfall, with about 8.5, 9 inches in the grass areas that's stuck, and a half inch at the most on the paved areas of the driveway and road.
Yep. The depth accumulated surprisingly quickly, but again, the ground is so warm, We get another good patch of snow. It may start sticking to the roads and the sidewalks a little bit more. Sounds like yours did a little more than ours did already, but yep, I love it, especially when it's not a lot of work and we've had nowhere to go. So bring it on. I love it. N0 in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. We could always use the moisture. Thank you for checking in. Anyone else want to check in? Call now.
KE0CP, Cliff in Severance.
Hey, good evening, Cliff. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thanks. Just looking at one of the security cameras. Looks like it's snowing again. We didn't have anything that's stuck on the ground, really. So, just been cold, about 26 degrees, I guess we got to. So, I'm just going to go ahead and listen on the side to you guys for a little while before my wife calls me to dinner. So, with that, I'll say 73 now, but I'll be on the side here for a little while. KE0CP back there.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for checking in. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo, net control for this evening's Tech Net. Looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check in, call now.
Kilo 0 Alpha Romeo Delta. This is Ann in Fort Collins.
Hey, good evening, Ann. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thanks. Not a bad day. I wish I'd had as much moisture as you guys. I only got a little bit of a dusting out here on the east side of I-25.
Oh yeah, hey, it was definitely strange. A friend of mine lives less than probably only about a mile and a half away, straight west, and he only got maybe 5-6 inches in his yard. So it was definitely patchy and bands of heavier snow. Good, thank you for checking in. Anyone else?
Ski 0 Alpha Sierra Papa, Terry and Berthoud.
Evening, Terry. How are you doing today?
And all kinds of work done. We got pretty close to 10 inches here in Berthoud.
I had heard a little bit further south, just south of Loveland, got a little bit more than we did up here, but they definitely used the moisture, and everything was starting to look pretty dry out there.
After that, nothing on the roads and already starting to melt off the lawn.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about snowfall this time of year. Ground's so warm, it melts fairly quickly, which always makes it nice when you don't have to shovel your driveway or sidewalk.
And I do have a question for the net once you start things.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to that. Probably same as normal, go about 10 minutes doing check-ins and then start with the questions and comments. So, looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check into tonight's Tech Net, call now.
This is Kilo Echo 0 Yankee Alpha Romeo, Brian and Windsor.
Hey, good evening, Brian. How are you doing today?
Great, thanks. How about you guys?
Yeah, we're doing great here. Everyone's doing good and waiting for the weather to break to get back outside. Yeah, thank you for checking in. Anyone else want to check in? Call now.
Kilo Echo 0, Yankee Mike Juliet, Ron and Windsor.
Evening, Ron. How are you doing today?
Enjoying the great indoors, just like everybody.
Yeah, definitely understand that. Hopefully you have some hobbies or at least been playing with the radio to keep busy. Well, thank you for checking in. This is KA6ETE Net Control for this evening's NCARC Tech Net. Looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check into tonight's Tech Net, call now. Okay, we had a double there. Only thing I was able to get out of there was TJ and Windsor. So TJ, go ahead with your call sign again, please.
Kilo 0 Tango November Papa.
Okay, how are you doing this evening, TJ?
Weather is a little different, and we think we're all going a little bit stir crazy, but such is life.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it could be worse for everyone than it is, but we'll get through it and things will start getting back to a new normal. We'll never be back to the normal that we all knew, but it'll be a new normal. Thank you for checking in. Doubling station. Try again.
Echo 0 Charlie, Foxtrot, Ben, 4 o'clock.
Hey, good evening, Ben. How are you doing today? Yeah, hopefully or not. Hopefully, and if anything, it's just from the rapid changing in weather that might be making you feel a little bit weird, but hopefully you're not getting sick. Thank you for checking in. Oh, one last time, anyone want to check in before we get started? Call now.
Kilo Echo Zero Romeo X-Ray Foxtrot Red D at Fort Collins.
Good evening, Randy. How are you doing today?
DMR questions if needed. Like a double with Ivan.
Sorry about that. No, either call sign, Ivan. I guess I doubled with you.
Okay, I think I doubled with everybody, it seems like. Anyway, W1VAN and available to answer DMR questions if needed.
Okay, I don't know why I didn't know your call sign. I've heard it a lot, and it's pretty much your name with the W at the start, so I guess I should have known that. Thank you for checking in. We'll get started again. We will take check-ins anytime during the net for anyone that has any questions or comments that hasn't checked in yet. Let me get back. I think it was Terry. Go with the question you had.
Well, this is a little bit long, but it'll eventually get around to a radio topic. Don't worry about it. One of the things we just did as part of this shelter-in-place stuff here is I got myself an emergency backup dog, a little St. Bernard puppy. And what's going to happen is with my primary dog, which is a yellow lab, we installed one of these electric fences, the invisible fence, dog fences, and it has the collar on it. And if the dog gets too close to the boundary where the fence is, they get a little bit of a shock when it goes drop. Well, that dog is well trained, and the wire on the electric fence, the part buried under the ground, broke. So the thing is non-functional. So to train the backup dog, I've got to fix that thing. And I figure, well, I'm a ham radio operator, and I have all kinds of signal generators and receivers. Does anybody have any advice on what frequencies or what tones and what methodologies to go about injecting a radio signal into a broken loop that's underground and try to find out where the break is without having to dig the whole thing up? W0ASB, back to net.
N0NYY, Bart, go ahead.
I am thinking I have a MFJ 269, whatever it is, the antenna analyzer. And one of its measurements is distance to fault, but I think that's primarily designed for a coax. I wonder if you could look at the resonant length of the wire, now realizing that it's underground. That may change the resonance, but I wonder if you could find a frequency at which it was nicely resonant and determine what length it was till the break based on that resonance. Now your calculation would be for free air. I have never seen calculations for the resonant length of a wire buried underground, but then again I haven't messed with a wireless dog collar either.
Bart, yeah, that's an interesting idea. The things I've seen online are little transmitters that get attached to one or both ends of the signal and transmit a signal, maybe different signals at different frequencies on different halves of the loop. And you take a little receiver around and try to find out where the signal drops off or where it switches from one frequency to the other. One DEG comment.
DEG, Platteville Mike, go ahead.
CR with a very small loop antenna, N0NYY. kept on, but yeah, SDR, like you were saying, it would probably work. And Terry, what you're referring to is called a fox and hound. We have several here. If you need to borrow one, I'm sure my brother wouldn't have a problem with letting you borrow one. And it's just as simple as what you're saying. You connect the little transmitter unit to the exposed wire, and then what it's made for is to find the wire in the wall. So I don't see why you couldn't use it on the ground.
Replicate it with the stuff I've got. I can put all kinds of energy at all kinds of frequencies into that wire. The question is the process of finding out where the break is.
N0 EMP. EG, I'm going to get quiet then.
Yeah, double there. But they're both you in there. EMP, Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, they check in with Debbie K0DBE. Secondly, I imagine the wire is only a few inches deep, so you can use UHF. I would use UHF frequency in the amateur band, one that you have an HT that will receive it. Put some kind of tone on there so you can hear it on your HT. And then I would turn the power down until it was not overpowering the HT. It was detectable but not real strong. And then I would just walk along with the whip antenna on your HT until you lose the signal.
It sounds like a great idea because I can easily generate 400 megahertz signals in the 0 dBm range with FM or AM modulation from some of my test gear.
Yeah, that should be plenty to track it down. And trying to measure the treat it like a transmission line because it's buried in the dirt. That's really not going to work, I don't think. So you just have to go along until you see a noticeable drop in the signal, and then you'll be close.
One of my thoughts was try putting the nano VNA on it and try to look at the in its TDR mode to see if we can see any particular pattern in the phase response coming back, if there's any sense at all to the impedance. But a broken wire in the dirt, I can't even begin to fathom what the impedance of that might be.
Well, you're going to have so much signal loss along the length of the wire that it's really not going to give you a reflection, I don't think. The other thing you could do is put DC on it. If it's an insulated wire, put DC on it and probe along for the voltage. And as you get near the break, you'll start seeing some voltage in the dirt.
W2MIC, late check-in and a suggestion.
Okay, I got Mark in there, but also sounded like Bart was in the background. There was some static in there, and his audio wasn't very loud. Did you try calling for a comment, Bart?
So I was just going to ask if that was an insulated wire or a bare wire, because if it's insulated, there might not be too much DC coming out into the ground. And but if you had a way to generate a high enough, even a DC voltage, and you could pulse that, and you used an AM radio, where that little arc is would probably make a ton of noise and make it very, very easily detectable. I would thinking that RF loading the wire, it might jump across the gap fairly easily and may not give you a real good differentiation of where that gap was. That's why I was thinking something that you could get that to arc just a little bit would be really detectable on an AM radio. And 0 MY.
Yeah, definitely. W2MIC, Mark, you had a comment?
W2MIC. Yeah, Terry, I'm talking to you on a Kenwood D74, and I believe you have a D72, which is a dual VFO full duplex radio. If you have two signal generators, one on UHF and one on VHF, and obviously you'd have to turn their power way down, you ought to be able to start walking along the wire on, let us say, VHF, and as you get to the transition, you would literally be able to hear the tones increase and decrease in amplitude as you switch from, or literally physically walk over, the other half of the break. That would require both VHF stuff and a tone, but if you make the tones significantly different, you should go from tone A to tone A plus B to tone B, and that should get you awfully close. My concern is I don't know how big the break is, and I don't know if you get coupling from one wire radiating into the other wire. I think if it's underground and there's a break, that this technique would work.
Is there ASP with some replies?
ASP, Terry, go ahead.
The comments, yes, I put it in the ground as an insulated wire. Now, how insulated it is right now is certainly questionable, but it obviously broke. There was enough wear and tear on it somehow to get it to break somewhere. It's not a very big wire either, maybe 18 gauge in soft copper, so easily broken. I could probably put as much as a kilovolt on it, DC, and probably even pulse that. That might be exciting. Mark's idea about the UHF and VHF is certainly doable. I've got two frequency synthesizers. I could put a different tone on each one and power combiner and put power into the whole rig and use my D72 with the dual duplexer, with the dual band full duplex mode, and see if I can receive two frequencies at once. The dual frequency approach sounds very intriguing.
Yeah, definitely. I was letting everyone else talk, but what Greg was saying or talking about is very similar to what utility companies do for like gas lines and everything else. I spent a lot of years doing heavy construction work, and whenever they would trace gas lines, that little wire that's ran with your house feed line is what they used for tracking it for marking utilities. They connect a signal generator to it and then use their detector, which is essentially just a radio with the antenna on the end of it that they sweep over it. But theirs is so specific and dialed in that it tells them the depth that it is from the top surface and everything else. But it's the same concept as using the UHF VHF. Theirs are a little bit lower frequency that they use, generally run between I want to say it was like 10 hertz up to like 500 kilohertz was the frequency range that they generally use. But a lot of that is because of the depth that they go. I believe that was Ron in there, K0YMJ. Your audio was a little bit low, but go ahead.
Just
just a thought. There's been a lot of good suggestions here about, ways to find that. Are all of those still valid if the wire isn't broken, but just has a scratch in the insulation, and what you really have is that it's grounded at some point?
DC check on the wire has shown that it is in fact open circuit.
I don't think you would have enough signal jumping across to where it would affect anything tracing it. I guess if it came down to it, you could just take the shock collar and put it on and start walking around until you don't get shocked.
All for volunteers. I'll ask for a volunteer for that. W0ESP.
I think it's best bet would be what Greg was saying. Go with something in the 400 megahertz UHF band. That way you get a little bit better ground penetration. Trace it that, see what you can trace that way, and if it doesn't come up with a different plan. But this is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo Net Control for this evening's Tech Net. Any other comments? PRB, Phil, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just want to check in to start with K0PRB with K0LAO lamp. Okay, so that's it for the check-in. But Terry, do you have an arc welder?
Oh, Phil, I don't, but my neighbor does.
Well, there you go. Hook the arc welder up one end to one side and one with the other end to the other side, and just look for the small volcano.
Yeah, I wonder if that would melt the 18-gauge wire.
Oh, it might, but what fun that would be, huh? I'll get back to the net.
November 0, Kilo Bravo X-ray, check-in, and also a comment.
Hey. KBX, go ahead.
With working with the utility company, one of the ways we actually can find where the break is in the line like that, besides using our locator, is if you can actually throw around 1 kilovolt on it as a pulse, you should be able to walk out into your yard and actually hear it thumping in the ground as it goes to ground. We use that a lot, and usually gets us within about 12, maybe 16 inches of where it is.
Okay, backup question there is, I do have an ultrasonic detector for detecting arcs. Are you talking about frequencies in the audible range or ultrasonic?
Everything we throw at it, a lot of times is just straight DC voltage coming off the generator, or if we have the capabilities, we'll throw AC voltage at it. So I'm not exactly sure if that would be audible or not, but just the arcing itself, we can hear, and then if anything else, we do have listening devices that would be able to pick up the sonic wave, I guess would be, in the ground.
EMP.
EMP, Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, my suggestion regarding DC was more like 12 volts from a battery and connect one terminal to your loop, or to one side of your loop, and connect the other terminal to a long wire that you can drag around, an insulated wire that you can drag along the yard, and just use a multimeter and start looking for some current flow out of the dirt with a probe. And then the closer you get, the more current flow you're going to get as you approach the break.
Definitely seems like it would be something that would work.
My way.
Bart, go ahead.
Have you taken the measurement from the wire, either end of the wire itself to ground? While I think the low voltage DC is a good idea, it absolutely relies on the fact that the insulation is broken as well, and you actually have a connection to ground, which you might not. So I'm curious about that. I think the thing to do is to test all of these ideas equally, and then make a big old web page on here's how you do this. And zero in my mind.
Art, just what I need is another project.
Well, it came to you, you know.
Yes, charged. I did ask the question. W0ASP.
Definitely a lot of good suggestions and things to try. Hopefully it gets you closer to figuring out where the break is fairly easily. If not, at least have some fun doing it. Any other comments? And this is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo Net Control for this evening's NCARC Tech Net. If you have any additional questions or comments for the net, please call now.
KF4 DUS late check-in.
K0 CBT late check-in. KE0 UJW late check-in.
Yeah, KF4DOS, KE0 CBT, and KE0 UJW in there. Anyone else want to check in or any questions for the net? Call now.
K0 CBT.
Yeah, KE0 CBT, go ahead.
Last week, there were a
fellow. I don't remember his call sign. I think it might have been W2MIC. They had a quad band QIT radio that he was willing to sell. At any rate, I don't remember his call sign, and I was just wondering if he was here with us.
I'm not sure who that was or who it would have been. I think if they were on, they would have said something.
Roger that. I just thought I kind of recognized his voice. I do have a minor topic to ask a question about, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I live in an apartment that is windows are east facing, and I've been trying to get a decent antenna set up. Currently, I have a Slim Jim that I got hanging from the middle of my living room ceiling, and that's what I'm talking on right now. However, it's a little bit flaky. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on whether it's snowing or raining or has something to do with the weather. I don't have good reflection to the west, from my window view, and so I do have a setup where I have a mag mount. There's a lot of metal plate going to my crank out window. And I use that, and that works pretty good. I'm looking for some other antenna suggestions. I was on Amazon looking for something that was a taller, rigid antenna that I could kind of mobile type that I could use and to get a little bit more dB gain.
With being in an apartment makes it tough. I know your best choices are either going to be the mag mount on a metal plate like you have, or the roll-up Slim Jim antenna hanging from the center of the ceiling. There's not really anything that'll give you any more dB gain than those two antennas that you'd be able to use in an apartment. I mean, the only thing you're going to get any more dB gain out of is going to be a directional antenna, and I don't think you're going to be able to put a mast or anything out with a directional antenna. But I know with the roll-up Slim Jims, you're limited on ways you can mount them. They have to be hanging in free space and so far away from anything obstructing the sides or around it. There's no way of putting that outside unless it's hanging from a tree. NYY Bart, go ahead.
I have a very similar problem in my garage. I have a large steel door, and I just can't use an HT out there at all. I haven't tried a mag mount. It would probably work. One of my favorite antennas, and this is particularly appropriate for 440, is called a tape measure beam. And if you just do a Google search for a tape measure beam, you will get a bunch of hits on it. It's really simple to make. You just hack a tape measure up into a little 3-element Yagi. You can certainly make it more elements if you wanted to. My line is built on a piece of half-inch PVC pipe with a T near the center, and the T goes up to a stem, and that stem has two little tiny screws that are just drilled into the drywall of the ceiling of the garage. The holes that those little tiny screws leave wouldn't be a real problem probably in your ceiling. Anyway, something to think about. Have a look at that and see if that, if you like that. It does give you substantial gain in one direction. Mine is pointed literally right through the garage door, and with an HT on low power, I've been told I'm full quieting into the repeater. So, my ideas, and zero in my way.
G0CBT.
Yeah, CBT, go ahead.
I'm familiar with constructing those beam antennas, but it was my impression that they were pretty much directional, like a Yagi antenna. Am I misunderstanding or incorrect there?
You're correct. They are a directional antenna. It is the same as a Yagi's a directional antenna. That's the only way you're going to get any significant dB gain on any type of antennas when you make it directional. And you're only going to be putting so much power into it. The only way is to make it seem like for the dB gain is to concentrate that energy into one single direction. Using the roll-up J-pole and the mag mount, you're omnidirectional. You can still get dB gain to a certain extent. I mean, you're not going to have an excessive amount of dB gain over any type of vertical antenna in comparison, unless you start getting into the bigger, close to commercial or base radio type antennas that you're not going to be able to put up inside an apartment or set outside your window. They have to be out in free space away from the sides of the building.
I guess my best bet is to, instead of doing 5 and 8 watts, to go to 40 watts with that mobile antenna.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way to make up dB gain is more power and increase the power out, and you're not going to have the dB gain, but you're going to have the more power. I mean, it's the catch-22 whenever you're inside an apartment building and you're limited on what you can do. So that would be my suggestion, is if you're trying to get the repeaters that are a little bit further away or harder to reach and you can't put a bigger antenna up, is you have to go with more power.
One DG comment.
DG, Mike, go ahead.
CBT, really, you realize or not, since you've been using that J-pole, you've been hitting the repeater a whole lot better and a whole lot more often.
0 ASP with a comment.
W0ASP, Terry, go ahead.
Those open twin line J-pole antennas is very critically important. I know you said this, but do not hang it up against a wall or a window. It really needs to be several wavelengths away from any structure that could interfere with it. Certainly if you have metal 2x4s in your walls, as many apartments do, putting it up against the wall is going to severely change its impedance and severely change its efficiency.
Yes, definitely. That is, in my opinion, the most important thing to pay attention to with the roll-up J-pole, with the twin line, the feed line at the bottom of it. You have to have it away from everything. I mean, it cannot even be close to anything, otherwise it will not work properly.
G0CBT with another question.
Yeah, CBT, go ahead.
Well, I know, Yaesu was like my preferred radio. I had a bunch, but it was stolen, and I use the Bowbank DF right now, and I'd like to get a TYT, but I'm curious what everyone thinks about those Radio City radios, which are cheaper, like quad band, cheaper basically.
DUS.
DUS, go ahead.
Yeah, that TYT 9800 is a quad band, but at your present license level as a technician, you wouldn't be able to use the 10 meter because it's all FM, and the tech is not allowed to go on FM on 10 meter. You can do it on 6 meter, but it'll be a useless radio to have if you can't use all 4 bands. So I wouldn't buy it. It's FM only. Is KF4 DUS. So when he upgrades, they got 7 p.m.
I do plan to upgrade to general since I'm sitting around doing not much of anything else.
Yeah, and as far as your question about what my opinion on the Radio City, Radio Oddity, whatever brand, you get what you pay for. Personally, I would not buy them. I stay away from them. But they all have their place, and for different people, they're, in my opinion, they're throwaway radios. Some of them work decent, some of them don't. It's all luck of the draw on what you get shipped to you if you do buy one. That's my opinion. Other people might like them, but I don't personally. KA6ET, net control for this evening's Tech Net. Any other comments? Call now.
Well, if I could find the fellow that had the 9800 QIT, I would buy that one.
It sounded like there was a double in there. It might have been on Echo Link. Was that AI7PM in there?
No, it was AE0GM.
Okay, 0GM, go ahead.
So I'm looking at the instructions for the Nano VNA, and there's references to an SMA connector torque wrench. Is it to minimize, to keep you from ripping the connector off the circuit board, or did you have to tighten it to a certain level to get it to work properly?
The torque wrench on there is, they're a good idea if you have one. They're, my opinion, they're not needed as long as you don't go crazy trying to tighten them down, because it is easy to rip that little SMA plug off of the circuit board. It's only held on by a couple solder points, and so you don't want to torque on it real bad. But if you just go, if you're easy with it and don't wrench on it, I've never had an issue with mine as far as readings or anything else. It's never caused any issues doing anything with it, for me anyway.
Think W0ASP comment?
ASP, go ahead with your comment.
SMAs are notorious in that if you under-torque them, they'll rattle off very, very easily. And if you over-torque them, you will damage them. So if you're doing space qualified or DoD spec work, the torque wrench is almost required by regulation in order to get it correct. But most people can get a feel for it with just a standard 5/16 wrench. You cannot tighten an SMA tight enough by hand to make sure that it doesn't back off. But it only takes a little tiny tweak beyond that point with a 5/16 wrench to get it to the correct torque.
Yeah, definitely. I know with mine on the fittings, I have an adapter, basically a thumb wheel adapter that goes over the end to where it's more to grip onto, makes it a little bit bigger, so it's not just the hex outside of the SMA. It's an actual thumb wheel type thing that's roughly 3/4 of an inch to an inch in diameter, and so I know it. I can torque it down close to what the spec is from experience and dealing with a lot of different things, but definitely, and you want to be as close as you can without over torquing it or under torquing it. Like you said, most people can get a feel for it just using the basic wrench just to get that little bit past finger tight.
PRB.
Yeah, PRB, Phil, go ahead.
Yes, I have read and heard from others that SMA connectors really aren't meant to be, how do I want to say, disconnected a lot. Connected and disconnected. They do wear over a period of time. And I have a nano VNA on the way as well. And I was thinking of making a very short pigtail where the SMA connector would always be connected and have a BNC connector on the other end. And of course I would need an adapter to, BNC type adapter to connect and disconnect other types of cable. But nonetheless, that was my thought. Are there any other thoughts on that?
ASP, Terry.
So what I did was I bought some male to female SMA adapters. It doesn't change the gender, but it is just a little short adapter that will plug into the nano VNA and give the same sex port out of it. And then you're constantly connecting and disconnecting from this adapter, which could be replaced. They're not very expensive. You can put them on tight enough that they'll stay on. And you're correct. NASA, I think, has about a 20 connect-disconnect limit on an SMA connector before it has to be replaced. And I have an experience, even at HF, I've seen the effects of worn SMA connectors. It is a real effect.
Okay, yeah, no, good to know. Well, at least what I've read and what I've heard is real. Anyway, I like your idea as well. It makes sense. So I might consider that as well. This is K0PRB, back to the net.
That definitely good question, Phil. And I know one thing I had done, well, I have the advantage of having a 3D printer and everything in my house. I actually made a set of standards using SO239 connector to where I can use I have an adapter that's permanently on my nano VNA that has the PL259 to where I can do all of the calibration direct to the SO239, and that's always on there, so I know the calibration is with the larger fittings and everything else, so I don't have to, all of the impedance and resistance and everything is already figured in for the calibration, so it's very similar to what you were talking about with the BNC connector, just with a different type of connector on it.
Is your ASP with another comment?
Okay, well, yeah, when I get mine in, I'll be playing. Let's put it that way. It's K0 PRB.
Yeah, definitely. I've been doing a lot of playing with mine. But ASP, Terry, heard you in there for a comment.
I think I might have doubled with Phil, but something to keep in mind is that the repeatability of SMA connectors is not that good. NIST, for example, will not ever calibrate to a NIST standard an SMA connector device because the tolerance in connect-disconnect is higher than the tolerance of the standard.
Yeah, definitely agree there. I know that's one thing I always do. I know with my Nano VNA is every time I use it, it's calibrated and everything else for each use, just because I know it never is the same, especially because of the connector. So I always find it easier to spend the 1 to 2 minutes it takes to calibrate it to make sure everything is calibrated correctly for that use, for that frequency. EMP, Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, a question for Terry. What does NIST think about BNC and N connectors?
Like N connectors, but not BNC.
Okay, thanks. M0 AMP.
This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo Net Control for this evening's NCARC Tech Net. Another round. Anyone have any questions or comments for the net? Please call now.
Late check-in, N0DNY, Jim, Fort Collins.
I got you in there for a late check-in, Jim. Thank you for checking in. Anyone else? Call now.
Late check-in and collection. This is KE0YYU, Jeff and Evan.
Hey, Jeff, go ahead with your question.
Has anybody heard any issues with the Chirp programming software causing HTs to no longer function? Basically bricking the radio.
They want DEG.
DEG, go ahead.
I didn't hear all of that, but I heard breaking the radio and using Chirp. You're not supposed to use Chirp with the Kenwood D74. I can say that much.
Chirp, this is KA6ETE. Chirp software with pretty much any name brand HT is not recommended by manufacturers. I know personally I have heard of HTs and radios being bricked by using the Chirp software, and I have many years ago did have a Yaesu radio of mine that I bricked using Chirp software. And so Don't recommend people to use it unless you're using it for a cheap Bofang or cheap throwaway type radio where you don't only spend $30-$40 on, just because of the cost factor of replacing a radio from the software. I would rather use something either from the manufacturer, or I really like the RT System software for programming radios. It makes it a lot easier with multiple radios, even if there are different brands.
Roger that. So far I've been lucky on this little Yaesu FT60 then. I'll take a look at the RT systems. I'm on a Mac. I don't know if they support that or not. But thanks very much. KE0YYU back in it.
Definitely, yes. And RT Systems does support Mac products now. That was the issue I had when I did brick a radio with Chirp, is because at that time they did not support Mac. But as of, I think it was about a year and a half ago, they started releasing stuff for Mac operating system for RT Systems. So you are good there. So I would definitely check it out. It's well worth it, and they are the local company here to Colorado also.
Can you give me more information about RT? What does that mean, and where do I find it?
I am not sure what the RT stands for. I believe it might be Radio Technology Systems. If you just go to rtsystems.com or search RT Systems online, they can, some of their stuff, if you have a programming cable already, with some radios come with them, you can download the program only and use the factory cable. Other ones you can order the program with the cable, and I think if it's just the program only is either $20 or $25, and if you need the cable, I think it's $40 or $45. I can't remember exactly, but it's rtsystems.com.
Thank you. That was N0DNY, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, I recognize the voice in there, and you can I know, like HRO and all the big all the big stores and that also sell RT System software, and so you can find out a lot of stuff on their websites as well if you can't find the RT Systems website. But if you just go to rtsystems.com or do a Google search for RT Systems, it will come up. It's a very commonly used program. Yeah, this is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo Net Control for this evening's NCARC Tech Net. Any other questions or comments before we close the net? Call now. CBT, go ahead.
Oh, sorry guys, gals. That were listening. Since Chirp did come up, I have a question. I have a EFS8 Plus that I've been trying with many efforts to program Chirp using the UV5R setting, and I just cannot get this thing to read. I don't know what the deal is with it, and I'm kind of asking the same question. Could Chirp damage this radio?
Yeah, there's always the possibility. I haven't heard of any instances where it has damaged any of the cheaper radios. As far as the Bofang radios, I'm trying to remember the BF F8 Bofang, I believe you have to use the GT3P setting with chirp. It's the not Yaesu. Bofang had a GT3P that I believe that portion of the software settings will work with the BFF8.
Can confirm that, K1DEG.
But it's BFF8 plus.
Yeah, the plus is just that they put it in there for an extra watt of power, I believe is the only difference between the two, but it's try the GT3P setting with chirp to program that radio.
Roger that. Thanks for the very helpful suggestion. I will go try that right now.
You're welcome, and okay. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo, Net Control for this evening's Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Tech Net. I'd like to thank everyone for checking in and the contribution to this evening's topics of discussion. A reminder, Wednesday evening is the NCARC Club Net at 6:30 p.m. with early check-in starting at 6. I look forward to hearing from everyone again next week. We'll have some more good discussion. I'd like to say 7-3. Hope everyone has a good evening and stays safe. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo, closing the Tech Net and opening the repeater for general use. And good night.